Aloha mai kako ka'ea Lions with Kapa Hawaiian FM, enjoying this beautiful Po'alima Aloha, this Aloha Friday. I have the opportunity to speak with some of our special friends that continue to work for our community. Joining me today, Julie Mitchell, Executive Director of Ku'ikahi Mediation Center. I also have Eric Paul, Executive Director with the West Hawaii Mediation Center. Kehaulani Costa, another Executive Officer today. And you know, everything that's happening in our community, these are the people that, you know, you are I would say, frontline on the backside that nobody knows about. Today, we're going to talk about the Rapid Response Landlord Tenant Mediation Program. Good morning to all of you. Mahalo for joining me. Hey, Julie, so, you know, when you and I started chatting about this Rapid Response Landlord Tenant Mediation Program, can you just kind of give us a glimpse what is going on here?
Well, what we've noticed is that there's two nonprofit community mediation centers on the island. Ku'ikahi Mediation Center, we serve East Hawaii. West Hawaii Mediation Center serves West Hawaii. When the courts are open, we help out in small claims court and we handle landlord-tenant issues. And then when the whole coronavirus pandemic happened and the courts closed and we had to do social distancing to keep everyone safe, and there were moratoriums coming out on evictions, both on the state and the federal level, we had the feeling that that was going to create some confusion. And then a lot of people are in economic hardship. They've lost their jobs. They're trying to collect unemployment. I mean, there's just so much need going on in the community that we were thinking, wow, how could we help? And one thing that we know is that tenants might be scared or, you know, not sure they want to talk to their landlords, even though they're going into debt and they're not sure what they're going to do. And then landlords have needs too, like they have to cover hard costs. Like what if they have a mortgage on the property? What if it's the only way they get money? That might be their only income. And they also may not be sure how to talk to their tenant about what they're doing. So we created with partners like Kehau Costa at Hawaii Island Realtors, who had some of the initial ideas and put forward some initial funding to launch this free rapid response landlord tenant mediation program to help both residential and commercial landlords and tenants on Hawaii Island.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing because people are feeling the pressure. And if they haven't, it's going to happen soon. You know, Eric, you know, I know that you've been doing this along with your fellow directors here. What are some of the issues that you are seeing currently with this tenant, commercial and or, you know, public situation that's happening?
Yeah, you know, I received a call just this morning from a West Hawaii resident. They've been laid off now for several weeks due to COVID-19. We live in a state that is already, and we all know this, but the cost of living is already really high. People often live paycheck to paycheck, and when they've been laid off, they start to have to choose between what bills to pay. And that is what this message that I received this morning and that we were able to call back and respond to was asking, how can you help me? I heard about this rapid response landlord tenant mediation program, and I'd like to be a part of it. This program creates space for this person to enter into a conversation with his landlord so that they can determine how they can move forward in an agreeable way over the next couple months. Both for landlords and tenants, I believe this is a great way for them to come together and help during this time.
That just alleviates my chest just went, oh, I'm not even in the situation, but I can feel that person who called. Now, Kehau, you know, Julie kind of mentioned it a little bit about your support for this program. Tell me a little bit about why you are so passionate about this particular program.
Well, early on when some of the initial proclamations came out to protect our tenants and help them stay in their homes and not put a moratorium on evictions, I was talking to our property managers, and many of them were saying, you know, the landlords were really trying to work things out with their tenants, and we're all in this together, and we're trying to make sure that everybody has a safe place to be. But tenants landlords also have bills to pay. Some landlords themselves are laid off from work, or they have kids in college, and so they're struggling to, their rental income is also helping pay their bills. And one of the things I was worried about is that the news media talking about a moratorium on evictions, people might interpret that as I don't have to pay rent. And they would just go on not paying rent for the next few months until their situation changed, and it would just add to a conflict and later debt. And I didn't want to see our community go through that, 3-6 months down the line. So I called Julie and I said, well, actually I was talking to Ashley Kirkowitz, and I said, it's like we need an ombudsman program. We need some way for landlords and tenants to feel comfortable talking to each other and coming up with solutions. You might have a landlord that says, don't worry about the rent, we'll catch up on it later. And the tenant only hears, don't worry about the rent, not the we'll catch up on it later part. And 3 months down the line, the landlord goes to collect the back rent and the tenant says, I thought you said don't worry about it. So we want to prevent those misunderstandings from happening now, not later when there's a conflict. So I called Ashley and talked to her a little bit about it, and we were brainstorming, and I said, oh, I wonder if Julie at the Mediation Center would be interested in launching a program now, proactively, rather than waiting until the evictions come through or later on when people are in conflict. And it didn't take 2 sentences, and Julie was like, absolutely, we need to do this now.
That's amazing. Now, okay, so I make a phone call to you, Julie or Eric, I make a phone call to you, I have this situation. Now, what does that look like after the phone call is made and I'm on your list for help? What happens?
So what would happen would be somebody calls up, and it can be the landlord or the tenant. They just call up and they're going to talk to one of our staff members. We're trained to listen. Everything, the initial call is completely private and confidential. And you get to just ask, what is this program? Is it right for me? And our staff will give out referrals that are appropriate. Some people aren't sure. They don't know what their obligations are. So we might refer them to the housing page of legal aid so they can kind of see what is going to come down if they don't pay anything, if they just kind of ignore it. And then they could also have somebody who's trained to listen, understand what the issues are, and do an intake with them where we ask a lot of questions about what your situation is, and then we ask for the contact information for the other person. And they don't have to have gotten the agreement for the other person to participate. We actually make that call. So let's say a landlord called us and said, hey, I'm worried about my tenant and my property, there's 2 months back rent, what can I do? So then we'll call up the tenant and we'll say, hey, we got a call from so-and-so and they're interested in mediating, and we'll talk again about what it is and why they might want to participate. Now, some important things about mediation is it's all about self-determination, so it's completely voluntary. So both parties need to say, yes, we want to participate for us to go forward. And if we do get a yes from both people, then we schedule a mediation. And the rapid response part about this is we're kind of putting these cases to the top of the queue. So we're trying to answer them. The calls get answered the day they come in, unless it's a weekend, then it's going to be Monday. And then we try to reach out to the other person that same day if we can. And as soon as we hear back from them, we schedule the mediation. And those are going to happen either right now via phone or via video conference. We're using Zoom right now. And then it's an informal process. It's a safe space. Our mediators create a place where people can talk and listen, explore options, and see if they can come up with their own best solutions. It's very client-driven and client-focused. The mediators are not like the judge is telling you, you're going to do this and you're going to do this. It's kind of like, what do you think we should do? What do you think we should do? And then see if there's a meeting of the minds and there's a negotiated solution that we would memorialize by writing it up in an agreement. And of course, this is going to probably be time limited because it's, we're in a certain situation right now. It doesn't necessarily erase the current lease or negate other obligations. It's for a right now. How do we want to work this out together? Is there a meeting of the minds?
That's amazing. That makes sense. It makes total sense. Kehal, thank you. Thank you again for being proactive. That's amazing. And you know what I see today is I see relationships. I see you being able to pick up the phone call and say, girl, can we make this happen? And Julie, Eric, your work and that, I sometimes I always think, I wish I could take a class because I need to learn how to listen better. You know what I mean? I can't do your job, but I'd love to just take a little sneak peek of some of the knowledge that you folks have. Now, tell me the website for maybe people who are watching today or listening, a website they can get more information about this, and also a phone number they can call. Eric, you want to handle that one?
Yeah, so again, this is a Hawaii County program. So if you live on the east side, Puna, Pahoa, Hilo, Hamakua Coast, you can reach out to Kuakahi Mediation Center. That's hawaiimediation.org, and that's 935-7844. If you live on the west side, Kona, Hawaii, Waimea, Ocean View, you can call West Hawaii Mediation Center. That's whmediation.org or 885-5525.
Awesome. Great information, you guys. Anything else you want to add that we maybe didn't touch on during this conversation?
I would just like to thank, so after Kehal called me, I called Eric and he said yes also. And then Eric, also reached out to some other people for support. So some of our other supporters is the West Hawaii Association of Realtors, put forth some initial funding along with the County of Hawaii and the Hawaii Community Foundation. So we couldn't be doing this without the support of people who are funding us, and we're still seeking additional support. We're not fully funded yet, so we're open to additional grant funding as well as people who just want to support the work we're doing. We both have means to donate on our websites, which I'll say again, hawaiimediation.org on the east side and whmediation.org on the west side.
You guys are amazing. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your dedication to our community, to making things pono, because it affects everyone. It affects everyone. Thank you for joining me today. And remember, you folks, check it out. Rapid Response Landlord-Tenant Mediation Program with our friends today. Mahalo.
No,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank
thank you.